right, so we want to welcome Kevin and Clarissa Jones. Did I say your name correctly?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Because my twin's name is Clarissa, and she will.
Oh, okay.
It's Clarissa. It is so good to have you all here. So we're going to start off with our first question. Who are you? Who are you?
Yes, indeed. Well, I am Kevin Jones. I am the son of Kirk Darnell Jones Sr., the late and great Juanita Jones. I am the middle child, my oldest brother, the late Tony Rozier, other brother Kirk Jones, my two younger sisters, the people I aspire to be more like, Katisha and Katina Jones, glory to God. I am a native of North Carolina. I am a veteran, 2 tours in Iraq. I am a gospel preacher, left the United States Army, got in God's Army. I am currently serving as the minister of the Pembroke Park Church of Christ. We're in the process of a transition back to the serve in North Carolina, and we're just glad to be on. I'll let this lady go next.
All right. I am Clarissa Jones. I'm originally from Kentucky. I am, of course, his wife. And I am a mother of 2, Julia and KJ.
Oh, I'm a father of 2.
So silly. I have been in the education field for a little over 11 years now. I am a person that enjoys documentary. That is part of who I am. I am kind of sort of a little germaphobe. That is a part of me as well. So yeah, that's who I am.
Yes, that's who you are.
I love how you put all of that up in there. So I love documentaries, and I'm a germaphobe, and that is a part of who I am. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. All right, you guys. So next question. How did you meet? Now, we know that there's usually a his version and a her version. So it's okay. Just split the versions up. Tell yours and tell yours.
I went first, so I'm going to defer to the lady. Let's see how it goes.
Girl, I came flying across, just floating across the floor. No, I'm just playing. I'm just joking. No, seriously though. It was my freshman year in college. My mom called and said that a minister had come down to do a gospel meeting, and his name is Jasper Newsom. And she really wanted me to come and hear him speak. So some friends of mine, we went back home, and I got a chance to hear him speak and got a chance to talk to him after the service. And he was like, "Hey, I got this guy that I really want you to meet, and I think you would be perfect for." And I'm like, "I just met you." Like, typically, some people try to hook you up with people. Sometimes it don't, work out too well. So I was like, I don't know about that. So anyway, I went ahead and gave him my phone number. He ended up giving it to Kevin. It took him a little while to call. And then they flew me down for my spring break. And we met, and the rest is history. Pretty much. Yeah. Short story.
I would act like there's more to add. The way she told it was pretty sharp. I'll just kind of take the baton and run a little further. So they flew her down. I was in the field. I was in the military. We have a field exercise. You have to go live in the woods in tents and stuff like that. Something happened when we ended up coming back. I had taken a PT test shortly before then, and I got a 4-day pass. She only had 4 days left. I cashed in my 4-day pass. We spent 4 days together. We went on our very first date, was roller skating, and to the Taco Bell. Please, y'all don't criticize me. I did not have a lot of money. Anytime I say that, folks just get bent. Please, it was pre-COVID, right? And pre us getting into careers. We just doing what we could to get survive. I'll never forget that date because I remember pulling up to Taco Bell and I said, "Yeah, I'd like to order 2 tacos." And she said, "Oh, with all due respect, I'll buy my own taco." And I said, "Oh, no, it's just a taco." She said, "Hey, with all due respect, I'll buy my own taco." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, get your own taco, girl." So,
now, hold on. Wait,
no,
I know,
no,
I'm going to let you take your story, But ladies, y'all know, you know, sometimes when you're on that first date, you just gotta let a brother know, hey, listen, don't be expecting nothing. I can take care of myself. I'm good, you know. And I didn't really know him that well, so I was just letting him know. Don't expect nothing, period. Go ahead.
She thought I was a reprobate.
No,
What the what? Okay, so you know, I guess that's why she didn't want me to buy a taco. So I was like, cool. So she bought her own. We went roller skating. From that point, we stayed up all that night talking. The next day, we talked late. We had a barbecue Saturday. We watched Remember the Titans together. We went to church the next day. We talked after church. And then Monday, you know, when it was time she had to go back to the airport, I knew in 4 days, I knew I was going to marry this woman. I knew it. And I'll never forget, I said, so what do you want out of life? And she says, well, you know, I want what everybody wants, you know, a nice life, a nice car, a good husband. I said, well, girl, you ain't got to worry about a husband because I got that covered. And she says, this is how cold she was. She said, Kevin, it is, right? Look. Oh, ice cold, like Sub-Zero, like that action. And she said, Kevin, it is, right? I don't know what you think this is, but I'm just looking for just a friendship. I said, oh, okay, no problem. Hey, I respect that. But see, the Spirit had already spoken. See, I knew what God had for me, when no man would ever take from me. And you know,
in my defense,
you know, you do a lot of defending. Buddy. But go ahead, your defense.
In my defense, though, when we first laid eyes on each other, y'all, he came in with some big baggy pants on. They weren't all the way up.
The Lord was working on me. The Lord was working.
He had all this jewelry going on. You know, and I'm looking at the preacher that brought me down, and I'm like, in my head, dude, like this what you doing, right? This what you doing. This is not gonna work for me.
Jizzle chain, you're right, Jizzle chain.
So you know, I just wasn't into that. So the way that he was dressed and the way that he presented himself that way, I was like, no, I'm gonna take a hard pass. But when I got a chance to talk to him and really get to know him, I was like, okay, you know, we could make this work. And I think for me, when I knew that he was the one, was because he could make me laugh. I was so focused, so very serious, like all the time, like there was no playing. But he just had a way about him that would make me laugh, and I love that. Yeah.
Oh, y'all, I'm enjoying this. You all are just, oh man, I love it. Okay, so you said in 4 days you knew. So how did you know? And she said, you made me laugh. But how did you know she was the one? What did you see? And what did you see in him that let you know he was the one?
Well, to that point, I had begun to get very, very serious about my Christian walk. So I wasn't even interested in casual dating. I understood that if I am dating someone, I'm dating someone with the perspective of marriage. So I knew that off the rip. I sat down and I wrote a list out to God of the characteristics that I wanted in a woman. I was very detailed. And at the time, Clarissa was all but 2 of those things. And those things I threw away. But as of today, she is all but 1. And the one thing that she wasn't at the time was I said, Lord, I'd love to have a woman with dreadlocks. And hey, you know what I mean? You know, so at that point, I listed all these things. I want a woman that is God-fearing. I want a woman that will we respect. We want to have a celibate relationship. I want us to begin. We enjoy the sexual relationship when we're married. I want us to just date one another. She has to like, you know, certain things. There was just this whole list of things, and she was every one. Boom, 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 boom. So when I saw it, I'm of the point where I believe that when God lets you know, or when God brings you to a season, you know it's of Him. So I didn't need nothing else. And you know, I think about that house. Like I tell you, I knew the house.
See, here we go. There you go.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah, but that was it. I just, my list, she was everything on the list. I knew straight up and down that was it. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, for me, of course, I wanted a Christian husband, and he was that. I knew that he was very serious about his walk with Christ. And then also just listening to how he would, I know that his mom passed at a very young age, but just listening to him talk about, his mom and how he felt about his sisters. You can tell a lot about a man by the way that he, talks about and treats the women in his life already. And so for me, I found that to be very attractive and very reassuring. And I'm just going to be honest with you too. I have a very old fashioned mama. She was like, girl, them country boys and the best ones, honey, them best ones, because they know how to respect you. They'll work hard. You find you one of those, you grab them, so yeah.
And I'm from the country. Please don't let this South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale fool you. I am from the country. Talk to them, Tisha Jones. Let them know what time it is, girl. Let them know what time it is.
I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh, man. Okay, ladies, shout out for the country boys. Okay.
Oh, you did not just do that. Oh, listen, you need to edit that out.
Don't edit nothing out. Don't edit nothing out.
No.
Yeah. Don't edit nothing out.
Do you hear the kids in the background? They're letting you know. Edit that out.
Oh no.
Y'all are so much fun. Y'all, I'm over here dying laughing and doing the ugly laughing over here. Y'all are too funny. Okay, so tell us how at the beginning, how did the church come around you all to support you in coming together and then in your early marriage?
Oh, wow. I think for us, our marriage has always, the cornerstone of our marriage has always been church. We met each other through church. All of our ties are to church. We don't, outside of that, everything about us is polar opposite. She's from Kentucky, I'm from Carolina. She was the oldest of her siblings. I was the middle of my siblings. She was a college student. I was a military soldier. So there was nothing really about us that had great commonality other than the church. And that always played a pivotal role. No matter where we were always somewhere around older Christian couples who were pouring into us. And if I could advise anybody, and I love the fact that this is a host of young adults on here, but I would tell everybody with a pulse, it would be such a blessing to you in your life to find several older couples. We would not be who we are if it wasn't for brother and sister Zeno, brother and sister Newsom, brother and sister Woods, brother and sister Bentley, Miss Marcia, just we, and these are all people we met from church. So I think that just the connections from our church relationships, poured into us and, helped us to grow. So it seems now only righteous that now when younger couples, and it's crazy to say younger couples, but the gray is telling on you, right? So the younger couples now who approach us, they're coming to us for that advice. And it's like we owe them that. I remember there was a couple just lived in the community. They didn't worship at Pembroke Park, but they outreach said, hey, we'd like to get some counseling. And my wife and I, we were certified as prepare and enrich instructors. And they were like, well, how much do you charge? And I'm like, we would never charge anybody for that because we got so much gain from, I hate to say gain, but we got so much knowledge from people for free. And it was always faith-based. So our connection has always been the kingdom. That's been where we were, just our bond was really there. Yeah.
Amen. That's good. That's good. So early on when you all were dating, were there any things that sort of rocked sort of made you think, I don't know, made you doubt anything that happened or any experience you had that made you doubt, are we supposed to be together? And how did you overcome that?
I'm thinking hard.
Well, I something we talk about, we don't say it out loud much, but I'm gonna say it. One of the things that we know is that, so we're blessed that, we are at 18 years of marriage, right? So, we got married very, very young, right? Very young. And like literally, I turned 22, you were 21 when we got married. And I know at that age, as far as the state of North Carolina is concerned, you could buy a beer, but you still have so much you need to learn. And I think that all of the issues that I think may have surrounded around doubt, when I look back at it, it was just immaturity. You know, for both of us, our homes were unique in that. So my mother passed when we were young. So for the latter part of my development as a man, I just had a male figure, right? So I watched this man, and what I watched him do without fail is he would get up, he would go to work, he would come home, he'd bring food. So I knew, well, I need to have a job, right? So that has always been something that I knew. And she grew up with this single mother, and she watched that dynamic. But seeing in our teenage years a marriage, we didn't see that. So I think that if there was any doubt, when I look back at it, it was just because we were very young. You know, it's kind of like giving a person a car at 16 years old. Yes, you're old enough to drive, but this is a dangerous thing. You know, let him get some years under him, and then let him drive, and that'll be a different thing.
I think one of the things early on, and we ended up talking about it, of course, doing premarital counseling too. And I can say this, even though my kids are here in the room, because I've told them this before, is that I never wanted to be a mom. I didn't see myself as being a mother, and he wanted kids, and I was very upfront about that, because I didn't want him to, you know, be misled. I just believe in being honest and saying what it is you need, what you want. And so I did tell him that. And so that was kind of something that I feel like, you know, we had to work through. And then he had to make that decision about, you know, if this was something that he still wanted to move forward with. Crazy thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, you can have all of these plans in your mind that you want to, but when God says so, it is what it is. And I'm glad that that the Lord decided to lead us into this path of being parents, because there's nothing else that I would want to do. I mean, I am so thankful that he saw fit that even though I said with my mouth that this is not something that I want, that he knew that this was something that I needed. Yeah. And so I'm very thankful for that.
Because when Jalea showed up, like literally, and I think she did say something that I think has to be echoed, is that she was very clear with me with what she did not want. So during the early years of our relationship, we exercised all those protective measures, you know, just because I told her, you know, this is what I want. I was watching this show. I don't know if you all have seen it, so I'm not going to say too much about it to spoil it for you. But last night, I just finished Bridgerton. And man, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
But so I watched, and there was this scene where this young lady, she was with child, and she was trying to get this guy to marry her. And he said, if you would have just told me your situation, I actually would have supported you. And I think that when she told me that, I respected that, and I took her at face value. But it is truth that what God said, because literally Jalea, she came through every man-made contraceptive and just punched all that pill and all that stuff out of the way. And Jalea said she was here. And you know, literally when she came on the scene, the motherhood of Clarissa, like, catastrophic. That just was, it was out of here. Like she should have been there forever.
That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. So tell us, how have you seen the glory of God in your children?
Well, I will say this: we have experienced a couple of miscarriages. And so, you know, I do tell, you know, our son, you know, he's our miracle baby, you know, and it makes me think about doing the delivery. I ended up having to have a C-section with him because he was breached. And when we were in there, like, everybody was like, you know, like, you're on this table and you hear all these doctors like gasping, you like, you know, what's wrong, is something wrong? And they was just like, they had never seen anything like it before, because when they were taking him out, he was actually on his knees with his hands together, with his head bowed, like he was praying. In the praying position. And so, yes.
It's crazy.
And so, that's always, you know, been something for me. because I just know that we were having a very difficult time, just, you know, dealing with the losses that we had, and then to get this opportunity, you know, again with him. So, yeah.
I think about, you know, one of the earlier days, Jalea, you know, because she mentioned KJ, we were, you know, like all couples.
Wouldn't it be fitting that he would talk about his girl? She is such a daddy's girl. Come here.
Y'all saw how, y'all, listen, did y'all see how I didn't interrupt nothing Sister Jones had to say? I let her have a time. I'd let her talk. You know what I'm saying? I ain't say nothing. I sat, mind my business, you know what I'm saying? And then it was my turn. That's no time. So I remember Jalea would sit, and we were kind of fussing, and I could tell that, you know, our tone was getting a little higher. And Clarissa walked off, and I'll never forget, Jalea was like, she was still at sippy cup in a walker, and I'll never forget, she pointed at me and said, "No." And it was like, when she said that, it was like legitimately, it became an inference. And of course, married couples, I'll tell you, we have not perfected it, but it became that you understood you got to be mindful about how you carry yourself in front of them. And I think even in marriage, we've had moments where we fall short, and we literally have to go to our kids and say, "Hey, you know what? Mom and Dad want to apologize for how we acted. You know, that shouldn't be." But I think that one thing that I would say, how I see the glory of God in them, is that they hold us accountable quite like the Holy Spirit does. You know, their presence is powerful.
So you said they kind of hold you accountable.
Yes.
That is so good. Oh my goodness, that is so good.
Oh yeah. I mean, and my sister, she could testify. Like literally, I grew up in a hip hop house. Like literally, like that house was rap music. I could tell you if it came out in the 90s, I could tell you where they were from, what record label they were on. I'm not talking about just mainstream talk. I'm talking about, we can go DITC, all that. Neither the same. Right. Don't get lost. So the point is that I have children now, and once my kids come on the scene, you know, I'm starting to see that there is a shift. Like as our spirit starts to grow, I start to see that there's some things about rap music that I can't listen to, and it never fails my kids. I'll be in the car with them, and they'll be like, "Well, why are you listening to that?" I'm like, "Well, that's the edited version." And my son, he's infamous for saying,
"Oh man,
yeah, but that still doesn't sound like anything we need to listen to." And I mean, like literally just allowing your kids, you know, to literally put you on the carpet and call you on that. And I think a lot of me striving to get into a better space is because my kids have challenged me to that.
I think that's KJ's favorite line. His thing is,
that's
if you
inappropriate.
Listen, it's inappropriate, and you know, if you can't listen to it in front of us, then you shouldn't be listening to it. You know, I know one of my sisters always said, you know, he'll say, if you can't say it in front of me, you shouldn't be saying it, because she'll be on the phone like, you know, I call you back, you know, I got the kids with me. He's like, go ahead. If you can't say it in front of us, you shouldn't be saying it.
Yeah, kids, if you allow it now, and I say this because I do know that sometimes parents get on this, you know, who you think you're talking to.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, now we don't play with our kids now.
No.
They'll get that work, like for real. But at the end of the day, we do understand that they have an awareness of us that most people don't. So, you know, we do value their opinion on things like that.
Y'all, this is good. Y'all are teaching some good principles of kingdom parenting, of allowing your children to hold you accountable. That is powerful, because so often I think we get in this mode of, I'm the parent, I'm the adult, you can't tell me nothing, right? And that's just so incredibly beautiful. That is beautiful.
Now I do want to stress, and I could feel you was coming. I could feel you go. Now we do live there. Now I want you to know we do live there. There are certain areas and scenarios where, you know, your children, because you have such a fluid relationship with them, that you know, it is just natural that a child is going to just try to see how far we can go. You know what I'm saying? There is a relationship that my kids have with me that they cannot have with their mama, right? And it is because we do have our personalities and our sets. So with that being said, we do get to a place where we do tell them, no, you are a child and we grown. But beyond that, we always have to be mindful that if the child is speaking to us from a position of especially a God-centered perspective, you know, we got to sit down and hush up. You know, today we had a moment, we were showing the house, and you know, my daughter, she was emotional about it, which is it. And she was like, I'm fine. But I was like, no, I know you're not fine. I just need to know what's going on with you. And it's like, it matters. Like, I want to know what's going on with you. And we walked and talked, and literally, you know, her perspective was that, you know, she was very challenged about the concept of the move, you know, so I had to just kind of take off my shoes and put on the shoes of this young girl. And I said, baby, I want to apologize to you. You know, you didn't ask to be the daughter of a preacher. You know, you didn't request this. This is what has come in your life, and God is shifting me. And I think just allowing yourself to be humble for them, you know, it puts you in a space where you get to appreciate prayers to God, because God don't have to listen to nothing we say, but the fact that He gets here to us, you know, it's.
I think too, a piece of that, you know, and him talking about just, you know, the relationship that they have with him is different, you know, from what we have. I tell him often, typically I talk to my mom, you know, pretty much every day, and I can tell what kind of conversation we're getting ready to have by the way she says hello. I can tell if this getting ready to be a girlfriend or if this getting ready to be she the mama, I'm the daughter. I can just tell that. And so I think that it's important for parents to know, you know, that you can't expect, or you can't tell your child to go out and be a leader or speak up for yourself or don't be a follower if you don't give them an opportunity to practice doing that at home. You know, they need to be respectful, but you do have to give them a space to speak their truth. And if you don't do that, they're not going to go do something that they haven't been taught to do. You know, so that is important for us. And so we do give them that space to do that. But just as I know with my mom what kind of conversation we get ready to have, I need them to know what kind of conversation, you know, we're going to have depending on, you know, what it is that they're presenting. So, yeah.
So y'all, this is so good and juicy. So what I honestly hear is the word submission. I hear the word submission, and we often talk about the wife is to submit to the husband, but what you're talking about is submission in a love relationship has submission in it, whether it's a husband, a wife, or even a child. So can you talk to us a little bit about how submission works in your life?
Well, I think even when I hear that, it puts me into a space where, you know, I feel like the problem is that whenever we read that passage, we and we're talking about Ephesians, we jump to verse number 22, but we ignore verse number 21. You see, and if we're going to read it, so I'll read verse 22, because 22 is one everybody reads. It says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as to the Lord." And everybody knows 22, but essentially what we're doing is we're doing what we condemn the denominations for. That is pulling one verse and telling you that this is the point. But if you're going to read 22, you got to understand that 21 comes first. 21 says, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of the Lord. Now that one to another, that's gender neutral. That is, I have a quality of submission to my wife. She has a quality of submission to me. Now, we acknowledge the leadership and headship that the Lord has placed on the husband, and we both operate in that space. But I still know that there are talents and gifts that my wife brings to the table that I just don't have. You know, anytime we move, there's no question about what school they're going to. And if anybody says, what school are your kids going to? I say, whatever school my wife says they're going to. So your wife run like, yes, because I know that she knows school systems. So we sit down and we're at parent teacher conference and they're talking about rubrics and all this type of stuff. And I'm You know, I'm just trying to say snazzy things to look like I know what I'm talking about, and I don't, right? And I understand that sometimes just striving to always be the dominant, you'll miss the giftedness of your spouse. So I know that when she comes to that table, I literally just cross my arms and I just let her do what she does. Now, on the flip side, she says, if there's ever any issue at that school where it's behavioral, they know, don't even call the wife, call me. And I'm coming up there and we just gonna have a time is what we're gonna have, right? Because she brings her gift to the table, I bring my gift to the table, and allowing her to operate her giftedness, allowing me to operate in my giftedness. And we just understand our roles and operate in that. Sometimes it gets clumsy because we're humans and we're both strong-willed people. But all in all, we acknowledge those strengths in each other and just try to let her lead in her season, me lead in my season, and then trusting God's design for this home and me taking responsibility for the accountability of the house as a whole.
Ooh, y'all, I just need to, this is so good. Let me say what they said again, just in case you missed it. I need you to write this down. Brother Jones says that always trying to dominate, you will miss the giftedness. So let both people walk in their giftedness and let God lead. This does not negate the leadership, the headship, the accountability that God has required. But, ooh, this is so, so good. This is just good, good, good. You know, what I think about too, I was blown away by the concept that God actually submits to us, right?
Oh, yes.
Because in our love relationship, when God answers our prayers that and different things, he actually says, baby, what do you want?
Exactly.
And that is so powerful. He doesn't just lord over us. And so just, ooh, thank y'all. This is good. So I have a question. I know you all work in ministry and have for some time as pulpit minister, you know, over a congregation, with the congregation. How do you protect the joy and peace in your marriage and then in your home in the midst of ministry?
I'll speak to
yeah. That definitely had to be learned.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll say that I didn't do good at that. You know, the Lord, we used to minister in Texas, and at that time I was thinking that, oh, I'm doing God's work, and God's work, and I did not prioritize my family. And as a matter of fact, our marriage went through some really tough strain during that entire season, because there were so many instances where I left her vulnerable to a lot of things. And it was crazy because I remember the day I noticed that I was doing it. I remember the day I noticed it. And it wasn't like, oh, I see it now and we bounce back. No, it took us a very long time to swing back into a space of trust in God's house, where she's like, I trust the spiritual leadership of my husband, because my spiritual leader was taking care of everybody else and was leaving me in the wind. And I think it was a preacher who told me, and this was powerful. And I think once I heard this, I got it. He said, son, the church is the bride of Christ. Clarissa's the bride of you. And when I heard that, I said, okay, I got it. Because what'll happen is that, God forbid, if I died tomorrow, God is going to get a man who has a heart for him in this position, because he's going to take care of his wife. His wife is the church, right? But I have to know that if God is taking care of his wife, Tina Jones was going on, if God is taking care of his wife, I have to do the same and take care of my own. So I think that early on, we had to learn that the hard way. And I won't say we, because that is one of those times where 100% of that failure falls on me, right? So once we got into our next assignment, it just became where, having experienced the thing and learned from it, just if we move in tandem. There is no she don't need an appointment to come here. She can come through here anytime she wants. Making sure that everybody who's on staff understands the culture. Our secretary had a bond with her. When we signed out for keys, she's got a key signed to my office, and she needs to come in here. She can come in here. There is a whole area in my office that is dedicated to her. She can do whatever she wants with it. There is a drawer, one drawer that is hers that somehow turned into 2 drawers and 3, but you know what I'm saying? But either way, just making certain that she knows that this is God's house, right? But this is my space. And since this is my space and we're one, this is her space. Now she respects that I'm here working. One of the things that I'm appreciative of the church here for is that they understood the dynamic when I advocated for certain things for my family. So, I used to keep like a Nintendo Wii in here for the kids, and they were fine with that. And then when they replaced the couch, I wanted to get a couch that had a bed fold out so my family was up here to rest, and just understanding that there is no taking care of the bride of Christ if I don't take care of the bride of Kev. And I know you had something that.
That right there is a blessing. All of that. So, Krista, can you tell us how it feels to know that your husband is taking care of you while taking care of the bride of Christ? What is that? How do you feel? What does that feel like as the woman?
It is comforting. I feel like I'm secure. I do feel protected. One of the biggest things for me, even during that time that he was talking about, and now, I know that there are things that I need and things that I desire, things of that nature, but I'm always like thinking about the kids, right? And so while he's talking about, just kind of leaving me kind of out there a little bit and vulnerable, I was thinking about, the kids too, because at the end of the day, we had these kids together, and, I wanted them to have a relationship with him. And so one of the beauties that I love to see it is the time that he spends with them. I enjoy that. That makes me feel good. If I know there are a lot of people say, you should go out on a date every week, and that's cool if that's your thing. But he would say, if that's your way, that's not my thing. I don't have to have that. But what I do have to have is I do have to have him doing something with the kids. That is important to me. That if I get to just sit back and watch it, I'm good.
That's good. That's so good. Okay, guys. So my next question is around how do you communicate boundaries to each other early on, now? Like, this is working for me, this is not working for me. How do you all do that? And how do you think, what are some tips you could give for couples with communicating boundaries in the dating phase and then in the marriage phase?
Oh, you go right ahead, girl, because you this is your subject.
Listen, say what you mean and mean what you say.
Hey.
If you want something, or if this is an expectation that you have, you need to say it and be firm on that. One of the things that he used to tell me all the time, though, was that, I'm not a mind reader, you need to, tell me, say something. And I just think that's important. It absolutely is. There's no other advice to give on that. Say what you mean and mean what you say. You're not going to get what you need sitting around thinking, oh, well, he should know, or I don't want to seem or come off a certain way. No, you can't be worried about that. Of course, you don't want to come in there, all aggressive, but there's a right way, an approach that you need to take, but, be specific and be direct about what it is that you want and what you're looking for, period.
And I'll only add this. I think one of the areas where, and I think this is more like when you're in the early stages of marriage, is that if a person establishes a boundary with you, it has nothing to do with whether it makes sense to you. like that doesn't even matter. I think sometimes we waste so much time. It's like, well, that's stupid. No, it doesn't matter. We're different individuals. I know that there are certain things that my wife has, habits in and certain things that she likes, right? And I may not necessarily agree with it. It may not move me at all. My wife, she has some rules on cleanliness that are just sometimes for me, it's like, hey, that's a lot, right? But you have one person in your life you got to learn, just one person, and just respect what it is to sit in their class. I can't teach Clarissa University. Only Clarissa can do that. What I have to do is I have to tell myself, is what she's telling me, is it illogical, immoral, unethical, unbiblical? No. If it's none of those things, then whatever it is, just honor it, and you just end up with such a more peaceful and happy, space and place. You heard him teaching. You end up with such a more peaceful, honorable space and place if you just understand that when a person establishes a boundary, it doesn't matter if you don't agree with it, as long as it doesn't violate wisdom, God, ethics, just honor it. Let them have that.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. It don't have to make sense to you.
Right.
Have one person to learn. Just honor it and get the peace in your. This is so good. Oh, this is so good. All right, you guys. So we if you're okay with it, we're gonna open up the floor to questions from our audience members.
Yes. That's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, let's go. You ladies can come off of mute or you can write it in the chat.
I would like to ask a question.
We don't take questions from her. Everybody except her. We won't take any questions from. Nah. Go ahead, girl. What's up?
By the way, gosh, I love you guys. Clarissa, I heard you speak to how important it is to see him doing things for the kids. Do you still make time to have those times where it's just you guys? And is that something that you all also prioritize and value?
Yes, it is something that we value. I think that what we do now together differs from, of course, what we were doing when we were a lot younger, because we have kids now. And so, we do, try to take that time to watch movies together. Crazy enough, we'll be reading books and he's like, "Ooh, I need to read this paragraph in this book." Like just having, like those small moments. We do enjoy board games. I think that's something we always been doing. If ever, post-COVID, anybody want to come through, any game they have at Walmart, we have it in the house. Come on in,
We will whoop you in Christian
Yes,
love.
we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Yes, indeed. I think that one of the things is that it's so easy once you get kids to lose each other.
Yeah.
Like you could be with each other and lose each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it was a couple of days ago, I just shared with Cherie, I was like, hey, there's just some things that I just need more from you. And I loved it. She told me, she said, well, tell me what that looks like. Like I want to do it, but you just got to let me know what that looks like. So I think that going back to that first part that Clarissa said of saying what you mean what you say, but yes, you have to be intentional about it. And I think once you get older, and I say older because, like I'm 40 this year, right? So once you get older.
Yeah, he said it about 4 or 5.
Listen, that 40 hit different, y'all. I need to tell y'all what that 40 hit different. Now I'm going to tell everybody on here, 40 hits different. That's the there. So once you get to that space to where you are, you get a little bit older, it doesn't take a lot. Like sometimes it could just be a moment on the couch. Kids are asleep. Dog is somewhere chewing a bone.
Let that dog be somewhere.
Kids are asleep. My wonderful dog is somewhere doing what he needs to do. And we just get a moment on the couch and just sometimes just checking in with each other. How was school for you today? How are you doing? Are you good? You seem stressed. Just a small check-in. It used to be, oh, we need to go out to eat and we need to go do this and go do that. And I realized that that's kind of stuff is about keeping you entertained. And then you get to a place where you graduate entertainment and you just want intimacy. You know what I'm saying? And intimacy ain't always, sometimes intimacy is just.
No, say what it is. Why I gotta be
Intimacy is not always physical, right? Intimacy is verbal. It is communicative. It is connected, right? And I value that more than anything. And we're both kind of low maintenance too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. Right?
Yeah. No, I think I do want to add to this too, Tisha, in response to what you said. I think that it kind of ties into what he was saying about it doesn't have to make sense. You just do that. I think that given my background and given that, I was raised, by my mom and just seeing what I saw and not really having that father relationship, that does it for me. So I don't really require a whole lot more, than that, because that's just been my journey and that's just my truth. So that's just what I need.
If no one else is jumping in, I wanted to say one other thing. By the way, y'all have me all kinds of emotional because y'all know how much I love y'all, but hearing you all talk about your story is a whole nother thing. But I just want to also speak to what I see from you all as a family. And I think that speaks to what you all were saying here, the way you value each other's gifts and talents and honor each other's space, because like when you all are talking about your board games, y'all do that as a family. The way y'all are laughing and joking with each other now, that's how you all are as a family. I almost wish everyone could see the dynamic of you all with KJ and Jalea, because that's the whole unit that you all bring. And I'm just, for me, like, and I know this is a loaded question, how do you cultivate that?
Okay, Tisha, okay.
That's a very good question.
Right.
I would say just be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of times, especially like when you think about social media, media will present to you what it should look like. Me and Bay going to Cabo. Well, everybody ain't got Cabo money. Chill out, right? You know what I'm saying? Like just be you. Don't try and do too much. And I think that, there are, when you start talking about dynamics of parents and kids, I would lose myself if I got caught up in the dynamics that I saw everyone else have. But that's just not who I am. You know what I'm saying? So like, I joke a lot. So I joke with my kids. But there is always, and that going back to the point we was talking about earlier with Kim, where we said, there is always where we let them know, hey, now chill out, man, you get too far, right? But beyond that, just letting them, allow them to be with us as we are, is that right? Mm-hmm. Per who we are. You're right. So like, we're not trying to be anything else. And I think that you can enjoy the greatest dynamic if you're trying to just be you. I can't preach like Jack Evans. I can't sing like Chris Turner, right? So there's no sense in me trying to, right? I can preach like Kevin and sing like Kevin. And if I do those things, I'll have a good time doing them. So I just think just if your dynamic will always excel if you are honoring authenticity in that space. If you bring authenticity to that space, you'll never go wrong. Like we were riding today, and now Tisha, now you're gonna feel this, Tisha. Hear me, Tisha. Let me tell you what happened today. Today, we were in the car, and the kids were, kind of sad. We're getting ready to sell the house, and Clarissa said, "Tisha, are you ready for this?" She said, "Do y'all want to stop and go to Chick-fil-A?" I said, "Oh snap! This lady hadn't eaten out since March of 2020," and I said, "You want to eat out?" I said, "Are you for real?" Like the whole car was like, what? And what I loved was the kids and myself, we all said, "Mama, listen, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. This ain't," she's like, no, I'm trying to be good today. And I don't think it's happening tomorrow. I'm going to be good today. I'm going to let y'all go out today. And she had the gloves and all that action, But I mean, like, we just understand that there's a person that she is, authentically herself, and just let her be that. And don't try to force anybody to be anything that they're not, And if you allow people to be authentically themselves, the dynamic will always excel.
I think too, I know early on, I mean, when you think about when you're trying to learn anything new, right? You do all this research, you're reading these books, you know, you're showing up to class, you're on YouTube, looking at videos, you're doing all of these things, right? So you don't stumble upon, you know, a good marriage or good parenting. That's not something you just stumble upon. Like, you really have to put in work for that. And so I know for me, I spent a great deal of time reading about parenting and about families, because that's not something that I had a picture of, you know, growing up. So I knew that I had to be intentional about that. And then too, just making sure that I had mentors. You know, I know he talked about having those older couples, you know, regarding marriage, but I think parenting too, you know, I know Donald and Desiree Bentley, like those have been like they are, you know, like the standard for us, you know. So, you know, just watching them parent and calling them and getting feedback and just getting advice on how to handle certain situations that may come up. And then just future things that we may end up facing, just getting that support, you know, from other Christian brothers and sisters. And then too, I'm just gonna be all the way 100 with you. I remember shortly after we had KJ, and I was holding him, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, I hope he doesn't grow up to be, you know, a sorry guy," right? Because, you know, that's just what I saw with my dad. That's what I saw, you know, with other, you know, male figures in my life. And I knew at that point that I needed to do something different. Like, I really needed to go get some professional help and have somebody to help me walk through that process, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to be available for him, and I wasn't going to be able to be the best mother that I could be for my kids if that was always something that was lingering, because those small things drive you. You know, those thoughts cause you to make certain decisions or to feel a certain way, and your kids feel that, you know, and I didn't want him to feel that. And so I had to become intentional about addressing those issues as well. So.
And if I could just add this in, as a spouse, like when she highlighted, you know, the experience with her father growing up, and just the negative experience that was, you know, when you marry a person, you marry everything that you just love, the physical beauty, all that, but you marry their experiences, right? And I think that one of the things that I had to learn, and I would tell anybody, if you're, you know, wanting something that'll help you, you need to be patient with a person as they are working on their own problem. But you need to understand, it is not your job to fix their problem. That is not your job. You don't get to dictate how that works. You don't get to dictate when that works. It doesn't matter what you would do. Well, if I was in your shoes, you're not in my shoes, right? You love me from your shoes, the shoes you got on. Love me from there, encourage me from there, pray for me from there. There's some times where I could have in my head what I know she needs to hear, and I'll just pray. I'll say in my head, Lord, convey to my wife, da 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 da, right? Because, you know, we're all imperfect beings, and a lot of our imperfection comes from some of the things we go through. And I know it's vice versa. Like there are some things that I bring to the table that, you know, cause about trouble. Be patient with your partner, but please don't try to be the puppeteer of your partner. That's going to get your iron in some trouble.
Ooh, you guys are like really truly blessing me over here. I'm so sad y'all about to leave, Brother Jones. Why?
Oh,
but I know God's plans just supersedes our mind. But the question I have for you is with the ministry. With your authenticity, are you able to be authentic with the members that you shepherd over? Because, you know, sometimes people have in their mind that, oh, our ministers are supposed to be this, and this. And it's like, that's not my personality. You know, you gotta let me be me. And are you able to do that from the time that you started preaching? And you said you were in Texas. Were you able to be authentically yourself as a minister? And number two, your wife, is she able to, you know, fit her ministry, her gifts? Because again, the congregations tend to think that the minister's wife has to be this, and this. And is she able to be that within the congregations and stuff?
Great question. I would say that's really the only way I know how to do ministry is to be myself. I'll never forget, this lady, she told me in Texas, I won't say her name because the church is such a small circle, but and I don't want Kim to have to edit nothing, right? So this lady, she said, you know what? You're a good preacher, but you don't sound like a preacher. And I was like, at first I was very like, I didn't, how somebody said something to you and you like, I felt some kind of way about that. Like I got in the car and I was like, I didn't like what she said. Like I literally took it personal. And I think that, when I step back from it, I realized like there is when you start talking about preachers, there is this kind of, if a person were to imitate a preacher, depending on the cultural dynamic, and God said, right? And that's just never been me, right? Like this, like what you're getting right now, like I could be this way teaching a Bible class. I could be this way preaching a sermon. Sometimes my wife, she'll be like, oh Lord, especially if I like start to tell a story because I just, I don't mind telling a story to correlate with something. But again, I think that to answer your question, my sis, not only does authenticity, bless your marital relationship, but authenticity will definitely bless your ministerial space, because anything that you do being your honest self, you can never do anything other than excel. Like, I can't afford to try to be someone else. I have to be who I am. So I would say that's the only way I know how to do it.
I think for me that, as he said, we're going to be transitioning to North Carolina, but one of the things that came up in conversation as he and I were talking about it was just how I just felt at home here at Pembroke Park. And I'm going to be myself no matter what. But there are, like you say, there are sometimes people feel like a preacher's wife should do this and act this way and look this way and things of that nature. So there are situations to where, you're going to get some pushback. And there have been situations in times past where I've gotten pushback, but I did not feel that here. And that made me just love this place all the more. Nobody cares if I decide, I don't want to put makeup on, or, I just get to be me. I get to have fun. I get to laugh. I get to just be normal, just to be regular. And I just appreciated that. They were really authentic here, and so that's just, my prayer moving forward, that, that he will continue to carry us, to the next place, with that same kind of energy as well. So, yeah.
Because once you get to a place where you get to do that, that in and of itself is a gift, right? Yeah. Like I'll tell anybody, if it wasn't that God made it very, very clear to us, I can guarantee you there's no way in the world we would have ever left where we are, because it is rare that you get to be yourself and you feel safe doing that.
Right.
And I love that. But whether you feel safe or not, be yourself, because you're gonna mess it up trying to be somebody else. And if they want you to be somebody else, then you know that you need to get out of that for negative reasons. Yeah. But being in a space where you can be yourself is the greatest blessing of ministry.
Yeah.
So good. Wow. Well, you all, we do not want to keep you all day. We would if we could. We just want to say thank you all so, so much. This has been such a blessing, such a blessing. So